kitchen.
Right. Let me get us over to Facebook here. Talking, all good.
I have to consent to being recorded. Okay.
That happens every time. Everyone then goes and clams up and they're like, oh no, we're being recorded now.
That means no more pot jokes.
No more pot jokes. What? It's just pots and pans.
Wow.
Chris, is that your home office, or are you at the Wine Alliance downtown?
I'm downtown. Yeah.
Nice. You guys are all reopened down there?
Pretty much. We're all back in the office. We have been now for a little while. It's kind of nice because now I'm no longer, I mean, my kids still are going to day things. So that's really good. So I don't have to manage them, be the hall monitor, if you will. And also I get to sit in a comfier chair than my. All right, we are live over at the Facebook land, it looks like. Just a little lag there. And we've got a few people joining us already. So cool. We'll take a minute here before and let Facebook catch up to us, and then we'll roll it out.
Sounds good.
Sip on some wine in between time.
Yeah, cheers, you guys.
Cheers.
Cheers. This will be fun. I loved all the group shots, by the way, that we got of you guys at the awards ceremony.
Oh,
So
that was fun.
I hated mine. I felt like my shirt had untucked, and so I billowed, and I was like, I looked like a balloon in every picture. I was so angry about it.
You look debonair. You look very good.
Thank you. I also held my award like a housewife, which is very fitting because I'm addicted to housewives. Like, it just came out naturally. I was very proud of it.
we got Steve and Martha Hewitt joining from a humid Columbus, Ohio. Last week, I think it was raining cats and dogs. Lots of rain and now very hot. Yeah, there you go. Hopefully you're sipping on something that cools you off there, Martha and Steve. All right, let's see. We are making sure we've got an audience over there on Facebook land. I think we do. So posted. All right, awesome. All right, let's get started. What is it?
They couldn't find a Dusi wine.
So you opened an Alta Colina Old 900 Syrah. Oh, that's a
very good choice.
That's a good choice.
Yep.
I hope you're planning on eating something hearty with that as well. That's a good wine. Yummy. Hey everyone, Chris Toronto with the Paso Wine Hour from the Paso Robles Wine Country Alliance. Thank you again for joining us for another fun Paso Wine Hour conversation. These shows are going great. We're having a lot of fun. I think we're like on show 65 or something like that. And we featured over 158, I believe it is, different personalities from Paso. So, and we're going to keep going. We're going to have a few gaps though, and I'll mention this again, but we're going to have a few gaps into the summer here because we've got some things going on that are going to take me away from this thing on some Thursdays. And so we'll have that posted on pasowine.com and make sure we keep you up to date. So please keep going to pasowine.com to check it out and see what the next shows are. We will have a show next week. And like I said, I'll mention this again. We will have a show next week, but the following week will be off air for that week. So cool. All right, right on. This show, what are we talking about? We are talking. So we do this community awards every year. And if you've been watching this show, you've seen us celebrate a few people in the past. Well, we're celebrating a few people again. And I'll get into who they are and why the award and everything else. But first, I'm going to let everybody actually introduce themselves, say a quick little snippet about themselves, and then we'll get into some of the meat of what these awards are and why we do them. I'll start with Chanda Brown over at Cass Winery. Welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, my name's Chanda Brown. I'm with Cass Winery. I'm the Chief of Marketing and Business Development over here. So I'm kind of the gal who gets to have a lot of fun, creating new programs and basically a lot of fun to be had on the ranch, as we call it, as opposed to a vineyard. just get to do a lot of playing with different departments and creating some magic out here. And I've been having a blast here for the last 2 years.
Cool. And yes, that Cass is one of those brands right now that is getting really diversified in their offerings. So it's pretty cool. And I know you've been behind a lot of that. But real quick though, have I been pronouncing your name incorrectly?
Yeah, I'm not rude about it, but you know, you can call me Panda. I'll reply to Panda too, but it's a cha-cha-cha, Chanda.
Well, my apologies
Like a choo-choo train in a
for
fanfare.
making it an SH versus a CH. So I'll correct that, Chanda.
You're good. Mwah. It's a great way to start off, huh?
Right on. Sarah Tomasetti, Sarah with an H from Dusi Wines.
Yes, I've been at Dusi Wines for about 4 years. I manage the wine club, and my award was tied, I think, mostly to my fundraising efforts, notably Wine for Paws, which is a fundraiser that's been going on for about 13 years now for the Woods Humane Society. And I work with up to 100 wineries or so here in Paso, and we get together every year and raise money for the homeless pets in our area.
That's really cool. And I'm really excited to get a little bit more behind the scenes on how that came about, and also your, of course, trajectory, everyone's trajectory into Paso Wine and the Paso Wine region. Ricky Lugo over at Ninau Family Wines.
Hello, everyone near and far. So yeah, I'm Ricky, and I represent Ninau Family Wines. We're one of the newer wineries on the block, if you will. We just opened our tasting room August 27th last year, so a late pandemic era business opening for hospitality and all things wine and good times up on Peachy Canyon Road. I have my hand in everything. I've been graced and blessed to be the family's first employee. I opened the tasting room with them, and just that, I have my hand in pretty much every aspect of the business. I get to work directly with all of the awesome owners that have started this. It's a really small family brand, a local family, and a brother and sister that kind of inspired the brand and began, and their spouses and young families accordingly.
That's cool. Yeah, well, then we'll definitely get into a little bit more about the family too, because I think that's a pretty neat story that you guys got going on over there. And Ricky, you've been in this industry a little while at a brand or two as well. So looking forward to getting to know you a little bit more as we progress in the hour. So let's talk about the Community Wine Awards. So the Community Wine Awards that the Paso Robles Wine Country Alliance put together was really put together in a way to help recognize more people that are a part of this industry, that are working hard, sometimes just simply behind the scenes, but don't really get a lot of recognition maybe, or maybe they really are deserved of recognition, but there's not a category, if you will, for them because they're not a winemaker or a grower, or simply getting one of those kind of industry life achievement type awards that we often do give ourselves and through the entirety of SLO County and all of the other affiliated organizations here. And so the Community Wine Awards, what they do is they recognize individuals and organizations that make Paso Robles Wine Country a better place to live and work. And so this is our third year in a row now doing this. And when we called for nominations for these wine awards, we call for them from our membership. So it's peers nominating peers and out of our membership, of course. But, you know, granted, sometimes other people that might not be necessarily closely affiliated or are putting their 2 cents in too, in one way, shape or form, because also it's not just those people in the know with their peers. And I say that because one of the awardees who's not featured today, who also received the Unsung Hero Award alongside Ricky, actually, is Jose Vargas, and he's a foreman with Vineyard Professional Services. So it's not a brand, it's not a winery. We mostly feature, of course, wineries. We've had people from Vineyard Professional Services on this show as well. But today, as you'll see how the trajectory of the show goes, we're kind of talking about brands as well, and talking wine and the like. And so, and we also normally do 3 people. But I do want to give a good shout out, though, to Jose Vargas, foreman over at Vineyard Professional Services, who also won an Unsung Hero Award. But like I said, though, third year in a row, and so voted by their peers. It's just a lot of fun to recognize these people, and we've got a really fun bunch here today to talk to, because they are not, as you can see already, they're no lack of conversation out of them, that they are fun to hang around with, fun to have a good glass of wine with, and are very deserved. Let's start though with Sarah, putting wine down. Sarah, wine club manager for Dusi Wines, but also and also over at Gallimar, I believe.
Yes.
But originated the Wine for Paws event, and that's how you ended up getting recognized. The award is called the Good Neighbor Award. This goes to a person that has gone above and beyond, I guess, building great relationships in our community. One of those people that likes to put people together, if you will. And that's what you did really with Wine for Paws.
Yeah. Yeah. As you mentioned in when you were giving me the award, you see me at just about every single event and fundraiser out there, because I do get my fingers in every pie. But I started Wine for Paws back in 2009. And I was not working in the wine industry at the time. In fact, I was working for a company that my clients were throughout the United States. And I wanted to get more involved in my local community and the local businesses. And it seemed that every time I went to a winery, not only were the people so nice and so generous, but everybody had a winery cat or a winery dog. And most of them were rescues. And my husband and I had been volunteering for Woods Humane Society. And I thought, there's something else I can do other than just go down and sit with cats and whatnot. And so I came up with this idea of I would go out to some of the wineries and ask if they would donate a % of sales one day to the Humane Society. And that was back in 2009. And now it's turned into a full weekend event. It's held every April. And we've raised over $500,000 for Woods Humane Society in that time.
And some of that money has gone to something very specific as well, right?
Yeah, well, there's now, Woods was originally down in San Luis Obispo, started in 1955. And a couple years ago, they were able to open a North County location to serve the North County. And they built a low cost spay and neuter facility as well.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's great. And I think that outreach that you have done is really what kind of put you so top of mind, I guess, with so many of the members and the community, the wine community in general. I did mention that every time I go to something, I feel like I see you at something, because it seems like you volunteer quite a bit. I mean, Wine for Paws and the Woods Humane Society isn't the only thing that you're putting time in.
Right. I've worked with Becky over at Must Charities and have helped out at those events. I was on the board of directors for a nonprofit called the Wellness Kitchen for a couple of years. And I'm also very involved in cancer support community. So actually I have my cancer support community hat on these days as I go out and hit everybody up for wine for our upcoming gala. So I do get involved with a lot, and it works well because I have had these relationships with so many wineries here, thanks to Wine for Paws. And I hate to, like I said, hit everybody up all the time, but I am able to use those connections to help other organizations as well.
Yeah, that's so Paso, I think, too.
Yeah.
Being able to make these connections and get to be able to use them, but use them in really a fun and good way that I suppose is a real feel good for our community. So thank you for that. Chanda, your award for Master Marketer, I want to get into that real quick. I know the title is funny and you're laughing. But like I said at the beginning, though, is Cass is really diversified, and you guys are getting a lot of great press. I'll pat myself on the back on a couple of those, but they're getting a lot of really great press and recognition with the Geneseo Inn that's right there next to your head over
my little halo.
Yeah. But also the event center that you're sitting in, and also just definitely great wines and the like. Yeah. But it seems like a lot of this stuff happened after you got on board. Am I right?
Yeah.
Putting you on the spot.
Yeah, no, I've had a lot of fun here. I come from an entrepreneurial background. And when I came to Cass, it was essentially ripe for the picking. You know, Steve Cass and Ted Clemens are brilliant visionaries, and they've been so focused, you know, with Sterling, our winemaker, you know, on really pushing towards excellence in the product. And so when I got here, I was like, you guys, you are a gem and nobody knows it. and you know, you've given me something I can kind of shout from the rooftops. Interestingly, I actually started here as an event manager, and then 2 years ago, and then kind of, you know, on my off time revamped their website and took over their socials, because I was like, you guys, like, we got to do more. And so, you know, that's just transitioned now to where it's actually my job title to be meddling and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm having a lot of fun. My focus has definitely been on, you know, being more, you know, not just, you know, our saying here is wine is king. This is king here. And that's the focus always. But everything else that we're developing and building out has been stuff to accentuate that experience. So obviously food is a huge part of that for us. You know, we've been running a 7-day-a-week cafe for years, for like 13 years now, you know. But taking that to a next level and building out the public events and the winemaker dinners and all of that. And then of course now with the Geneseo, it's like really building a retreat. So we now have all of these Cass camp experiences, you know, where now wine tasting is absolutely within your glass, but as we know, wine tasting, there's a lot of subjectivity to that. It's very impacted by, you know, your environment, how you're feeling at that moment. And so creating that environment where there's a little bit of magic and nuance to it, I think just makes what's happening in the glass even better. And so that's really what my focus is.
And I love the fact that in creating that magic and nuance, though, you actually keep it really real. I mean, it's,
oh yeah,
this is a very Paso experience. I mean, you can go horseback riding out there. You can have dinner in the vines. You can, and all the while, it's very Paso centric. And honestly, if the way you guys laid out the buildings for views, for when that sun sets and how it turns those hills golden.
Optimum. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, Sarah and Ricky, if you've been out there, especially during golden hour, but oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah, it's incredible. And I think that's probably my favorite thing, is that our heart is really to preserve the Paso personality. You know, we're not trying to be something that we're not. We're trying to be what we are, which is part of this community. And, you know, I always tease, I was like, my favorite tease is come to a winemaker dinner. You're going to be spoiled rotten. You're going to have 5-6 course meal in a gorgeous setting. And the owner will be in flip-flops, you know, because that's how we roll.
And Ted will definitely tell lots of stories. I went to the crab boil recently.
Yes.
There. And that was a lot of fun, and it was a lot of Ted. So.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Which is a good thing. It's a lot of fun.
It is. He's our party guy. He's got great stories and great energy, and it's fun to play with for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, easy transition here, but speaking of great energy, Ricky, I've met you a time or two. We have a former employee, Andrew Carlson, who we're buddies with, who introduced us to you. I think you were, where were you? Over at Adelaida, I think at the time?
Yeah, I definitely met Andrew at Adelaida Vineyards and Winery.
Yeah, and your energy, your charisma, your smile, you seem to always are able to light a room up, but you also seem to get a lot done. And that's why you got the Unsung Hero Award, is because you seem to take on a lot and do it with a smile, as you're smiling right now. You know, tell us a little bit about, though, your role there as Director of Hospitality and Director of Consumer Sales for Ninow. I suspect you're also the Director of Sweeping, the Director of Shooing things out of the tasting room, and so many other things. But
yes,
a bit about your trajectory to Ninow and how you were handed basically the keys to Ninow Family Wines. You know,
well, thank you. That's a big stage to introduce me on. It's a it is a humble beginning for a small family brand here in Paso, being charged with manifesting and kind of walking the weight of the dream of a brother and sister and their spouses and young families has been, I think, what I thrive under. I've always been a person that does better with the more responsibility I have. So this is definitely the test of my times, the weight of it all, but it's great. I hope to the family, I think they would say I've done a great job. I feel that kind of exudes from them. We've been so graced by our neighbors and the entire Paso community for all of the referral business and the excitement that it seems like Paso has for us as a brand and as a small family business. And that has really, truly led us to the success that we've had in such a short amount of time. We're coming up on our year here at the tasting room on Peachy Canyon, and it's been a whirlwind of a fantastic year. I think it's gone far and above our expectations since we've launched. I think if there's anything we had hoped matched our success of business, it's been maybe hiring. It's been me since August, and we've been hiring for a while, and I think between that and just trying to maintain that consistent growth with mostly one man. I have a lot of behind the scenes help from all of the owners, and you know what a risk it was to this small young family to open something during such a year as last year's was. And they truly opened the brand in April and the spring last year and focused digitally and through referrals and through just kind of guerrilla marketing, if you will, and decided to finally pull the trigger on the tasting room when I came on board with them in the late summer. And it's been awesome. They all still operate their careers independently outside of this. Between the two, the brother and sister and their spouses, they have 5 super young children. So it's extremely, extremely time consuming. Our owner and winemaker, Drew, is a winemaker at another prestigious, very established, busy brand. And so his winemaking day calls come for a very long period. And then we go do the wines at our facility after he's done there. And so it's truly a labor of love and passion and focus and long-term vision for all of us right now. And it's been a great start.
That's great. And you know, the location that you're at actually has a lot of historical significance in that it was the old Nadeau facility or you know, tasting room and the like, right there, right across from Law, isn't that right?
Yeah, and even further beyond Nadeau, I actually had the pleasure of hosting Shirley and Mike Whitener of Adelaida Vineyards and Winery just recently. Mike Whitener has been a vineyard manager for Adelaida for quite some time, and their property is right behind this estate that we lease our tasting room on. And he grew up here. I think his family, when I asked him, has been here since the early 1900s, if not before. And this facility that we use the tasting room from was erected for a walnut mill. And it was one of the first walnut mills in Paso. And it had transitioned from that time from that family to the Nadeaus, who still currently own. We're leasing our tasting room from them. They live and reside and operate the property and the estate and the vine still. But it operated for Nadeau Family Vineyards for a number of years. And they've since retired their brand. And we've moved in and refreshed everything here to our liking and are continuing on that path.
We have a question actually already from the chat for you, Ricky, which is asking what is the most meaningful moment up until now? Like and you know, I'm not clear if that's necessarily for the Ninow family or is it necessarily for you? So you can blend the two if you want.
You know, there's been a lot of really been a lot of great moments for us so far. Again, it's been really humbling to start, but really quickly, I will say, receiving the acknowledgement for this award, while it was awarded to me, being able to go to the ceremony last week with half the ownership, Drew and Andy Nino, and being able to kind of sit with them and they be among the rest of the Paso Robles wine community as owners of their own brand, and feeling like I did them proud and that they had a moment to sit back and be young, really successful owners and see these risks that they're taking and the time that they take away from their young girls and from other things that they could do as a young family, and to see that this is really coming to fruition really quickly. That was very, very meaningful and a really, really humbling time for myself, and I believe them as well.
Yeah, it's and that's so Paso as well. I'll say that again, in that it is these visions that some young families, some young winemakers may have and want to come here to be able to see that kind of come through. And everybody has a different kind of trajectory into Paso. And I actually kind of want to get into that real quick, Sarah, you were talking about you had a previous job where you had clients that were out of area, and like, what were you doing prior to Paso? And then what brought your, prior to being in the wine industry, I'd say, and then what brought you to Paso?
Well, my husband and I lived in the Bay Area for years, and we were both in high tech, and my background's in human resources. And we were going through layoffs and buyouts and all this stuff. And we took off to Australia for a month. And my parents lived in Morro Bay, and they took care of our cats. And when we got back to the country, we decided we were done with the Bay Area. So we came down here and decided to stay. So I was actually working as an executive recruiter for, 10 years or so. And so I had clients outside of the area. And so that was really why I had started Wine for Paws, was to get more involved. But so we've been here, we moved to the area about 20 years ago, and then ended up in Paso about 16 years ago. So we've been here for a while. And I remember when we first moved here, we had our little Paso wine map, and we would mark off the tasting rooms we went to, and we were going to go to every single tasting room in Paso. And within like 2 years, the map was completely out of date and we couldn't keep up, and we gave up completely.
Probably the piece that came out.
It was one of those a long time ago.
Yeah.
And Ricky, how long ago you were at Adelaida? When I think the first time I met you was at Adelaida. You actually poured our wine for us, and it was right after Adelaida had signed up to participate in Wine for Paws. So we went out there to taste some wine, and I remember having this wonderful young man as our server that day. And I think I even sent Andrew an email afterwards telling him how awesome you were.
Thank you. Yeah, I started for Adelaida in 2017. That was when I moved here.
Yeah.
That's great. Chanda. See, I said it correctly.
Got it.
At least I think I did.
Now it's stuck in your head. Yeah.
Your trajectory into Paso, I'm curious, what brought you to the region, or are you originally from here?
I've actually been up here for now 11 years. I'm originally from Los Angeles, born and raised. And I actually moved up here because I have 3 children, and I was kind of done raising them in LA. And I wanted the wide open spaces for my kids. Now they're all upwards of high school and college. So now it's a totally different vibe that they so very much appreciate having them raised out here. And when I first moved up here, I started a company with my very dear friend, and it was catering and events. So I was an exec chef for 8 years.
I'm going to interrupt you real quick. I'm sorry, but you're breaking up a little bit. Can we move the microphone a little closer to you? Or?
Yeah, we can definitely try. I'll just hold it. How's that?
There we go.
So anyways, been up here for 11 years, and actually started an event and catering company with a dear friend of mine. And so I was an exec chef for the last 8 years. Kind of always had a penchant for, food and wine. Definitely part of my personal growing up culture. My mom grew up in Paris, so you can imagine wine was a big part of our lives. And a couple of years ago, I decided to come on over to Cass. My sister actually is a distributor for them. And so she was like, you need to go and check out Cass. It would be such a good home for you. And I was like, really? Okay. And that's when I joined forces with them. They needed an event manager at the time. And so I kind of folded into that. And because I had an understanding of front of house, back of house, and all of the hard work that goes into creating the magic, I was honored to be a part of that equation. And now, just transitioning into at a rather expedited pace, just having a lot of fun creating, programs and developing the departments to be something even more, and pulling the team together, and yeah, just creating something that's definitely unique and special for Paso Robles. That's like one of those things where I am a big believer in collaboration. I love being part of the entire Paso community. And I feel like anything that we're doing out here is just something that is able to elevate and kind of heighten and bring more adventure and more fun for the area for all of our tourists and all of the people within the community as well. I kind of call us I like to say we're kind of like the social life for a lot of people, which is fun.
So from chef to marketer, I mean, are you missing the chef life at all?
No, I brought over one of my favorite chefs, Chef Charlie Paladin Wayne, dear friend of mine. He and I have been friends for like going on 9 years now. I brought him over last year. Best decision ever. Super talented chef, and it was ironic because when I brought him over, I had no idea. I was like, so Steve, Ted, like, tell me, do you guys have any beef? Because Charlie's been in the community for a long time. I'm like, do you have any beef with Charlie? Do you like him? Because I kind of want to like tell him to come on over here and make some magic. And they were like, no, oh my gosh, he actually is the first person to develop the food program over here. So like 15 years ago, that guy was like digging holes on the vineyard and burying pigs for pig roast. And so it was just this beautiful full circle. And so it's really neat to be able to work, with Chef Charlie and Chef Taryn and develop like just amazing programs, amazing menus, amazing events. Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And I was, like I said, I was there for the crab boil, and to be able to get Charlie back, he's a great chef, good guy, makes amazing food. Then I also hear you guys were able to kind of he was a caterer chef, basically.
He was a catering chef, yeah.
But then you were able to hang on to his crew as well, and that's
we were able to bring his crew over, which was awesome. Couldn't have been, I mean, honestly, if you want a beautiful COVID story, that's it. Being able to in a world where hospitality got hit so hard, being able to bring his people over and kind of acclimate them to our culture over here was a pretty cool thing. But yeah, no, when I was running my own business, you're an entrepreneur. You do everything, right? You create your websites, you do your social media marketing, you do all of your writing and your press releases and all of that. And so, I resonate with Ricky, the multiple hats, lots of them, how to like throw them up in the air and have them land on your head in the right way. It's a skill set. Not everybody has that skill set. So kudos to you, Ricky. But yeah.
It's glad to know I'm not alone.
Yeah, no, you're not. You're not the only crazy person out there. But, I think that's really what, I have a penchant for that. I was a math and English major, in college. What else are you going to do but go into marketing? You like numbers and words.
Right.
Ricky, let's talk a little bit about your path into wine, because you're, there's no denying you're the young guy on this screen for all of us. So you were at. Sorry, Sarah.
It's just the moisturizer.
Hey, I'm calling myself out on this one too. Anyway,
I'll drop you off what I use, Chris.
You think I could use it? So, Ricky, you were at. We've all talked about you being in Adelaide. Was Adelaide your first wine job before getting?
Yeah, Adelaide was my first wine job. I moved up here from Southern California, like Chanda. I was more from the Inland Empire, San Bernardino County, so about an hour east of Los Angeles. That's where you lived if you couldn't afford to live in LA. you drove to LA for work, or if you wanted a break from city life, it was more suburbsy. But yeah, I moved up here just over 4 years ago, 4.5 years ago now. I kind of gave a little bit of it at the award ceremony, but I kind of was looking for an equal career transition in many different ways to just have the lifestyle of Paso. My parents retired here about 9 years ago, and in their retirement, they kind of retired into working again by buying their property with a vineyard. And so my dad's been farming vineyards now for his retirement. And my mom decided to open an Airbnb business on the property. And so they're kind of like back to work, if you will, and just visiting the area, I fell in love with it. And my first wine tasting was at Epic Winery out on York Mountain, in the rain, in the cold. And it was in their building that they had that was semi-temporary while they were reconstructing the original York Mountain tasting room. But I remember walking up to that, even that temporary building, and the effort they took to make it look architecturally impressive. And it was kind of that whole experience of arrival and seeing the different, the architectures of everybody's tasting room and why families decide upon them, the way they all host you differently, the way they choose bottling, the marketing, the packaging, excuse me. Things as simple as your wine club forms and the way they present their business to you. And I was just fascinated by the whole concept of it all, and wanted to just have, and then the lifestyle itself was extremely appealing. To me, the quality of life was amazing, to be without traffic and, you know, for the most part without crime, and just quieter, longer days. You know, it was a really awesome idea, and I loved wine at the time. And I think probably one of my more prized blends that I would drink on a day-to-day in Southern California was Menage a Trois. It was a red blend that you could buy at the local grocery store. And when I came up here and did a wine tasting, I was like, wow, I could never go back to the grocery store and drink. No offense, but I drank the gold, and it was like, wow, I can't go back. And I moved here, and it's been so humbling. I've been offered so many incredible opportunities since I've come, and I thank each, and I've had the pleasure of working for such pioneering families like the Van Steenwicks of Adelaida, and the whole organization that they exude, and then the Hopes I got to spend a few years at, and work with them and represent their tasting room and that hospitality team, and help take that from what it was to where it's at today. And make the transition during COVID. I went to work for my dad and worked with him directly in the vineyards, and I learned how to stake grape stakes and sucker vineyards and build a pergola over water tanks and anything else that Dad wants you to do around the property. And now, back to work for the Ninows and the Roseberries, and it's been awesome.
Yeah, that's great. That's really cool. You're just starting out here, and I'm sure you have a nice future ahead of you. Let's talk a little bit about what we're drinking, because this is a wine show, and we do talk about that. And while not everybody here on the screen is necessarily consumer facing, so they're not always talking about the wines of their respective, Ricky is over there at Nino, but we're still going to talk about wine, because they can still talk about wine. They're here for a reason, right? We all like wine. I'm drinking a J. Dusi. This is the 2019 Pinot Grigio. It's really refreshing. It's one of those wines that when you think about this wine, honestly, you think I can drink many of these, because it's so refreshing. And granted, it's like 100 billion degrees outside now. It's like 105 or 6. I mean, it's fun. This is very refreshing on a warm day. Granted, I'm in an air-conditioned office with a fan blowing on me. I know how warm it is because I had to go outside to get this. It's not warm, it's chilled. Chanda, you have something white in your glass. Why don't you go first?
Sure. I am drinking one of my current favorites right now, which is our 2020 Roussan. This is it's a pure varietal Roussan.
The microphone, can you get that again? Yeah, sorry.
I've got it on my lap. Here we go. So this is our Roussan, our 2020 Roussan. And this is just one of my current favorites right now. It's a pure varietal, Rhone varietal. And Sterling does an awesome job with this. Long, cold, stainless steel fermentation. So keeps it very, very true to its essence. Has a lot of beautiful fruit forward, very low on the sugar, which I appreciate. And it's, I tend to be a seasonal person. So I tend to be like, yeah, this is what I want to drink when it's like piping hot outside and I'm smelting, and, I'll go towards, our heavier caps and things like that. But during this time, this is pretty much exclusively in my glass, this along with our Oasis Rosé. And one of my absolute favorites, because it's you can't necessarily get a pure varietal Roussan everywhere. It's a little bit unique and different, and one of my favorites. Very food friendly.
Yeah, it is. And speaking of food friendly, I think it was. I'm talking about that crab boil again.
Yes.
You can have another one, because everybody, you got to go to this thing, because Chef Charlie, he put together. I think it was paired with a grilled cheese sandwich, if I remember correctly. That was like no other grilled cheese sandwich. I don't remember what he did to it, but I don't know how you can make a grilled cheese sandwich so darn good.
It's kind of, yeah.
paired perfectly with that Roussan.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful. And I think that's what I do appreciate. And you know what, that's what I appreciate about a lot of the Paso wines. We do we're very much part of food culture. And as a chef, that's something that I appreciate about what we're all doing out here, you know.
Mhm.
It's about that. It's not just the enophile enjoying and sipping on just a glass of red wine or whatever. You know, this is more about, experience, and food is part of that experience. And that's what I love about Cass, that they've had a food program for as long as they have had.
Yeah.
I love food with wine. It brings out so many beautiful subtleties.
And just to speak a little bit more about that fruit, they're growing over there, where Cass is located. They're over there in the Geneseo district,
Yes.
in this wonderful little pocket of the Geneseo, where you can see some of the hills behind Chanda's head. There's also some in front of her as part of it steeps out after a little river valley or a creek valley, if
Right.
you will, that's dried out there. But they sit up on a bit of a bench that is just absolutely perfect for growing grapes, and they get the afternoon winds from the Templeton Gap effect that blow right in there. It's almost like the mountains from the El Pomar just kind of funnel it right over into them. And all those vines back there are all NTAV clones, so they're all certified clones from France that are of pure varietal. So good stuff going on over there at Cass Winery. I dig it.
Yeah, absolutely. We're probably about 50% of our grapes are of a Cabernet clone. But we do have this beautiful acreage of that Rhone and the Marsanne and the Viognier. And we're now, when Steve first planted this vineyard, it was really for the purpose of selling beautiful grapes to other vintners, hence the on top clones. We wanted it to be just the premium to be able to provide to other winemakers. And then, he kind of decided, hey, he and Ted were like, wait, we can make some juice as well. We can do this. And so now, with Sterling, we don't have, again, we have so much beautiful Cabernet, which is wonderful, but these magic berries that are, the Roussanne and the Marsanne and the Viognier are just so special. And yeah, we're at that point now where we're literally hoarding them all for ourselves because there's just not enough. There's just not enough. We're already sold out of the Viognier, the 2020 Viognier. That was a very sad day. So I'm really making sure I'm savoring my Roussanne right now.
That's great. It's awesome that you were able to sneak that one out to have.
Right?
We still have some Viognier in stock, just FYI.
Good. I'm gonna have to come by.
Sarah, what are you sipping on? I'm loving this, and I thought maybe you would have this too. But what are you?
That was my first thought, but then this is really one of my favorites right now. This is Janelle's newest blend. So the Dusi family is really well known in this area. They were one of the first 5 families to plant Zinfandel grapes here in Paso in 1925. And this wine is named Gazzaroli Zinfandel. It's named after Janelle's great-grandmother, the matriarch of the family. So back in 1925, like I said, they planted some Zinfandel grapes, and that's the Benito Dusi Ranch. And those grapes, you can see those vines are across the street from Target on the 101. They look like little trees. And 20 years later, they planted the very renowned Dante Dusi vineyard, which is on the other side of the 101, just south of Target. And there's so many wineries that covet those Dante Dusi grapes. So this is a blend of 50% Benito Dusi Zin and 50% Dante Dusi Zin. And so she named it after her great grandmother in honor of, her matriarch of the 2 renowned Zinfandel vineyards. So I've known Janelle for about, 12 or 13 years. And we were sitting at dinner about 5 years ago, and I was looking to get out of that executive recruiting job because I just couldn't do it anymore. And she was looking for somebody to come on board and take over her new database that she had just implemented and run her wine club. And a friend of ours said, oh, Sarah's looking for this. You should do this. And I said, really? And Janelle said, really? And so ever since then, I've been working for her, and it's such an honor to work for the family. They're such a hardworking family. You get out there on the vineyards, and it's, 5 generations have been working these vineyards, and you've got everybody from 12-year-olds up to 70-year-olds out there picking grapes, and it's just an amazing family to work for.
Yeah, they're great. Their history is long and deep in the area, and their influence on so many other brands and growers is also very deep. It's fantastic. And now they have that new Paper Street vineyard that we've actually featured on a show once before here. It's an amazing piece of property. It's just such a great accent to what it is that they have historically here.
We should say too, for the audience, Sarah's referring to 7-year-old family members that are out in the vineyards and not 7-year-old farm workers, specifically.
Family members.
Don't want to raise any red flags.
Pretty good,
All
thank
generations.
you. Yeah, thank you for that clarification, Ricky. The guy who's been put to work by his dad at the vineyard.
Yeah.
Just to point that one out.
Family.
Yes, family, exactly. Sarah, one more thing about the Zinfandel. I mean, Zinfandel is kind of like the Dusi thing, but I have this Pinot Grigio here. There's a lot of other wines that they do there. Talk a little bit about some of the other wines in the portfolio there and what's new.
Well, what's going to be new is we're going to be coming out with a Petite Syrah. That's coming out in the fall. That's from another known vineyard called Catarina's, which we used to get the Syrah from Catarina's, and those vines have been replaced with Petite Syrah. Janelle also, in my opinion, makes an amazing Carignan.
Yes.
And the Carignan vines are grown on the Dante Dusi vineyard. They're interspersed with the Zinfandel vines, and they're these huge 7-foot tall vines. And it's all dry farmed, and they used to make it for the field blend, the Fiorento, and you'd actually pick all the grapes together and make the field blend, which Janelle still does that. But then she's also made a couple vintages of just the 100% Carignan, which is amazing. And she's also got another one of my favorites is the Dawn, which is a Cab Sangiovese blend. So it's really a nice wine. And coming from Paper Street, we've got a Paper Street Zin, and those vines are cloned from the Dante Dusi vineyard. So it's taking those same vines, not the same vines, but cloning them from 1945 at one elevation and putting them up at almost 1900 feet in this very steep terroir. And they are producing amazing fruit right now. It's really fantastic. And she's also got a Mourvèdre that's coming from Paper Street as well, called the Cornflower Blue for Paper Street. That's another one of my personal favorites. So lots, they've got so many grapes planted, and they're still selling, I think, 80% of the fruit. So there's a lot of fruit coming off those vines. But that Pinot Grigio that you're drinking right now is, we kind of, well, I don't know if Janelle wants me to say this, but we call it Dusi water, because it's like, you can just drink it. It's so good, and everybody loves it.
I have to say that Pinot Grigio was the first case of wine. I think you guys launched like, hey, COVID had just happened. We all went into lockdown, and it was like the first Instagram case. I was like, oh, we were like hard buying everything like everyone else. I was like, I messaged Janelle, I was like, can I please have a case? And we were so spooked on the first week. I was like, I can't go out and get it. Can you please deliver it? Her husband so like kindly delivered it and dropped it off on our front porch. And that got us through barely our first week, I would say.
Right? Right. I know, I just picked up a case not too long ago, and I was like, well, this will last me a while. It's gone. It's just gone.
I have to admit, I buy it, I mean, I should buy it direct, I know, but I can't help it. I'm at Albertsons, and they got that buy 6 and get the percentage off thing, and 6 end up in my cart. I can't.
Hey, we have to support our accounts when you have them.
We do. And Linda does a great job over there at Albertsons and carrying all of our wines locally. For all of you that are not local, hey, if you're coming through town and you need to get wine real quick and you can't make it out, or maybe you did and you forgot you needed something, honestly, go to our local Albertsons. Linda over there, she is the beverage manager, and she does a great job in carrying a lot of local wine. So anyway, quick shout out for them. Ricky, what's in your glass?
So I'm sampling. I'm not going to be dishonest. I've been trying a little bit of our rosé, mostly so it doesn't, for the vanity, I don't stain my teeth. But I'm going to talk to you about our 2018 11s blend. This is our house blend of Grenache, Syrah, and Mourvedre. So kind of one of our traditional West Side blends. Overall, if I've been able to host you, if I ever get the pleasure of hosting you, or our staff that start tomorrow will be hosting you with, I would love to tell the stories of the brand. That was one of the biggest things that kind of fascinates me, especially about the wine industry in Paso, are the families behind the brands and how they come to be, and kind of leaning on what Sarah talked about with the history and the pioneering aspects of the family like the Dusis. And so for this is really kind of the onset of Ninao family is 11s. It represents the brother and the sister of the brand in their own respective ways. You can see the feather of our label there behind us as well, kind of mirroring on one of our walls, and we have them on either side. So as the quick story of 11s goes, Tracy, Drew's sister, one of our owners, has always kind of seen this resemblance in life of dual 11s throughout the time. The brand itself kind of was incepted as an idea shortly after Tracy gave birth, and the family were all in the delivery room, and Tracy leaned over and says, "Let's start a wine brand," and Drew and her get together, and and then Andy and Mike all put together their time and said, "Let's do it." And so it's just, let's pursue a legacy and a family brand. And 11s in a lot of ways is personifying of that through the symbolism of feathers, which is really something that Drew has always found is kind of like a God wink, that what you're thinking about, what you're doing, whatever path you're on, it's the right path, it's the right track, and it's going to be okay. For Tracy, dual 11s has represented balance that she's looking for in her life, as well as the interweaving of her with her brother, blending their families in business and launching this new venture. And then it's also it's where we're situated, the west side of Paso. It's some of Drew's more favored areas of farming and the vineyards, and where we're launching our tasting room. And so it checks a lot of boxes for us as the family goes. And it was not a wine initially to Drew that he thought he was going to continue making year after year, and it has really quickly become one of our flagships of the brand. Overall, one of our first wines to sell out from our inaugural vintage last year.
That's awesome. I have to admit, I have not tasted too many of the Ninao family wines. Drew has, I've hosted some writers recently where Drew has been a part of that. And so I definitely need to get out there. And I think we've talked about even taking our entire Paso Wine team out there one of these days soon. And we'll come out and visit with you, Ricky, because that'd be
awesome.
Those are neat stories that are just, again, I keep saying this, but it's just so Paso, in that if you want to kind of find and live that dream in wine country, I think you still kind of can here. I mean, we've
absolutely
a bunch of people from very different backgrounds all coming together to be recognized here. And this is really the backbone of Paso, which is just a lot of diversity in nature and in backgrounds. And I dig it so much. I'm so stoked that the three of you have got those awards and that you're joining us today. I want to continue on just for the next couple of minutes before, if you can believe it, we're almost at an hour. Talking a little bit more about the background of yourselves, but in another way, in that how, in fact, you're going to love this, but what are your impressions? What are your views of Paso in general? Do you have other favorite brands? This is the catcher. This is the one. Do you have other favorite brands? Do you have other places that you like to go wine tasting that you find interesting, that you find like, that's cool, that's Paso, that's neat, and you can't say each other's brands? I'm going to start with Sarah.
Oh, okay. Well, one of my favorites is Mick Price Myers. I think that Mac makes some really amazing wines. And he is actually getting a lot of his fruit now from Paper Street. And he's doing a really wonderful job with it. Love it. I also love Ranchero Cellars, Amy Butler. I think
Yes.
she's an awesome winemaker, very small. She is
Were these brands that you visited when you first came to the area, or is this stuff that you're kind of almost evolving into visiting over time?
evolving into these. Yeah. Probably in the last 6 years or so.
Yeah,
These
okay,
are the
okay.
ones that I've been drawn to. One of my new favorites, just because he's so different, is Monochrome Wines.
Oh, okay.
Dave McGee. He does only whites, and he does this really crazy scientist way of fermenting and blending, and they're always different and they're always good. And I just love the fact that he does so many white wines, because we have people come in the tasting room asking, for white wines, and a lot of places are only pouring one. And it's nice to be able to send the white wine drinkers to a place like Monochrome,
Mhm.
where it's just always unique and different wine.
Fun. I dig that.
Yeah.
I'm going to toss it to you. Same question.
I'm a very proud Paso snob. I've had the pleasure of visiting some sister regions. I'm more Paso oriented and Paso educated than anything else. Growing up in Southern California, our nearest wine region was Temecula. It was really up and coming before it became more established, as I would say it is today at the time. And I definitely enjoyed some wines down there. Here in Paso, I guess I can walk that back. I did get to I've taken a trip or two up to Napa on industry invitation, and with knowing that I was coming from a winery at the time. And so definitely had red carpet rolled out and had that really awesome, welcoming experience. And I think the one thing I was looking for when I went to Napa was, what can I bring back and can I teach my staff to do differently? And I humbly found that we're killing it where we're at. And there's a place for everybody. And if you want that, there's the level of wine experience that you want, we can check every box in Paso. And that's what's really humbling and awesome. If you want that really fun, belly up to the bar, have a good time, cheers and bump elbows experience, you can. If you want that seated, focused, sensory experience, our range here is unmatched. And there's not a lot of difficulty to find what you want. There's something on every block for you in this town. My personal favorites that I have to mention, definitely since the beginning, has been Thatcher. I don't know if I've ever had a bad wine from Sherman and Daniel. When my dad and I had our first vintage together in 2018 and made some wine off property between vines that we planted there, we reached out to Daniel. We had some Zinfandel we were going to do, and I reached out, to Sherman and asked, hey, your Zinfandel is absolute favorite of mine in Paso. I don't want your secrets, but if you have any pointers for me, can you let me know? And Sherman and Daniel sent me a playbook. Not to put them on blast, so everybody asks how to make wine from them, but man, were they like, here's what you do. This is what we do. If it goes right, this is what you do. If it goes wrong, this is what you do. And if you need anything else, just call us. And that was my first feel of this is Paso. This is why I moved here. This is our community. And it was such an awesome, turned out to be my dad's and I favorite wine that we made. Nowhere near their quality, but we were happy to have something drinkable from our first vintage, and that was really the personification of the region. And I love the small brands and everybody who chases a dream here. That's truly what we're about, I think, is just dream chasing, hard work, everybody helps everybody, just humble, and everyone's just kind of, happy to be in it and happy to be in it together.
That's cool. That's a lot of fun. Hey, I know that we had comments about this shirt. I'll get to that in just a second, everybody. Chanda, putting you on the spot. And same thing, same question. You can answer it any way you like.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when it comes to wines, I like kudos, Monochrome, Thatcher, absolutely gorgeous. I really love, I'm not being good, sorry.
It's okay.
I really love, I love the blending of good wine and hospitality in an environment that makes me feel just welcome. And so I do have to take off my hat to Grey Wolf and Ancient Peaks, because those are just environments where the wine is beautiful and the environment is you just feel like you're home. And so I think, just killer opportunities there for having a nice Paso experience. Those are two experiences that I just give a double thumbs up for. But yeah, awesome. I mean, there's so many beautiful wineries here. So it's kind of a painful thing to try and put it in a nutshell, but yeah.
But I know that with the combination of your input and everybody else's, I think everybody's getting an interesting and fun perspective from all of you on some different properties and some different wines in town. And I dig that, because it's us as in the industry as a whole. It's not just winemakers, it's not just growers once again, but it's everybody that's involved that makes it go around, and that everybody patronizes each other. And I think that's really important. We have a really strong and vibrant industry here that celebrates its own, and that's kind of what this show is about, is these community wine awards, because we have, once again, Chanda, winning the Master Marketer Award. We have Sarah Tomasetti with our Good Neighbor Award, and we have Ricky Lugo winning the Unsung Hero Award. Thank you guys for being on today. I love the fact that we were able to continue this conversation that is so about this community, and we will be continuing these conversations into the future. I want to give everybody a quick little second, though, to say what's happening now or in the future, or if you've got something that you want to share before we call it a day. I'm going to start with Chanda, since you've got the microphone in hand.
Oh, how nice of you. No, we've got all sorts of things. We have a very robust summer program. We're just super happy that things are as open as they are. And so we have fun things coming in August. We'll have a casino night that we're going to be doing. So we'll be rolling out some roulette tables and all sorts of fun things, and throwing up the bay doors and having a good old time as the sun sets. And then of course we have all of our beautiful Wednesday around the world dinners, beautiful, I mean, just gorgeous 5-6 course meals, all wine paired by Chef Charlie. And yeah, we're having a lot of fun with the taste. We've opened up a members veranda up here on the weekend, so our members have a completely separate experience from our cafe, where they get a little bit more of a European focused menu, a little bit less of the down home Paso menu, as they're surrounded here by the vine. So they're literally up here on the weekends. And then down below we have the cafe 7 days a week, and we've rolled out Ted's barbecue pit and taco bar. So walk-ups are welcome. Large groups are welcome under the tree. We're doing a lot of fun stuff out there, a lot of fun energy on the weekend. And even midweek too. Midweek, it's just been a lot of fun to see so many faces from everywhere. Bay Area, California, Texas, San Diego, LA, everywhere. It's been a lot of fun to see that. But yeah, there's a lot going on. There's horseback riding and archery and electric e-bikes. We just got new e-bikes with crazy big off-roading tires. So we're having some fun.
Yeah, and you got a pool coming?
The pool is coming for the Geneseo. We're in the process of permitting. We'll have a swim up wine bar at our beautiful Geneseo Inn here. So the Geneseo Inn is a bed and breakfast. Our chef Charlie, he prepares estate breakfast for every guest. They get to enjoy it on those balconies that you're talking about. And yeah, the pool is going to just be like the creme de la creme, little cherry on top. So we're going to do another 20-foot shipping crate and have a beautiful swim up wine bar for our guests to be able to enjoy. And,
awesome. Where do we find out more about Cass?
CassWines.com and all of our socials, Cass Winery, Geneseo Inn. So yeah, we're kind of just creep. We're there.
Awesome.
You can get all sorts of voyeuristic.
Pretty neat place. So get out there and look them up. If you're going to try to stay at that Geneseo Inn, though, they're booked out a little ways. So
yes, yeah. We are. We're pretty booked solid for July. Make your August plans now. Definitely make your harvest plans now. Yeah. Get on some fun fall activities. Yeah.
Awesome. Ricky, what do you got going on sometime soon? I know you got a new employee and you've got people coming in to taste with that new person, but anything else?
Yeah, we've just recently expanded our outdoor seating offerings. And so as we bring on our new staff and get them trained up, we're excited to kind of expand the reservation system. We are reservation recommended just because it is a small team at the moment. So we can accommodate you as best we can. It's a really quaint but focused and upscale experience for your tasting here. We're currently still through Thursday through Mondays, 10 to 4 for your reservations. We're looking forward to expanding our hours to 7 days a week as soon as staffing allows and business allows. We have a really exciting opportunity coming up for our current club members. And if people are interested in becoming part of that, they can find that on NeNowFamilyWines.com. And that first party will be exclusive to them on Saturday, July 31st, where they're going to have chef prepared meal for the afternoon and the evening portion of the party with live music. We'll have all the owners and their families here to kind of shake hands and say hello and have a really fun pairing station kind of passport experience for them through the estate and the tasting room itself. And are really, truly almost, it'll be pretty close to our first 1-year anniversary party. So it's going to be a big, beautiful kind of open house concept as we get closer to that. So look forward to that. And you can find us again at NeNowFamilyWines.com or follow us on social at NeNowFamilyWines.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Sarah, you not only the winery, but Wine for Paws.
I'm going to put on 3 hats today.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I am fostering 2 kittens right now. So if anybody's looking for kittens, I'm going to have 2 kittens ready to be adopted in a few weeks. They're very cute. Ricky and Chanda, I'm going to hit you up for some wine for Cancer Support Communities Gala coming up. And at JDC, open 7 days a week, 10 to 4. We do recommend reservations, especially on the weekends, but we can always accommodate walk-ins. And we've got some areas up on the hill under the trees where you can do bottle service if you want to just go relax for a while. If you haven't been to Dusi since January, well, nobody was at Dusi in January, but we have all new furniture, really beautiful outdoor seating area overlooking the vineyards. And most days you will find Janelle there. So you can come in and taste and talk to the winemaker and have a really great time.
Cool. Will we find Billy there too?
Huh?
Will we find Billy there too?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, Billy's there from time to time, and those are pretty fun days. You can usually get him to open a bonus bottle. Shh, don't tell Janelle. But if you ask nicely, he will.
And Wine for Paws, it's in April, but are there other things that happen with it?
Wine for Paws is in April. I'm hoping to maybe plan a little pop-up event this fall at one of our wineries, because we like to, if I have wineries that say, hey, we want to do something one night, we're going to donate 10% of sales to Woods Humane Society, we'll do that. And the website for Wine for Paws is wine4paws.com. So, and we're on social media as well. So any new stuff coming up, it'll be out there.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chanda, Sarah, Ricky, everybody.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Paso Wine Hour next week on Thursday, 3 o'clock. We're going to be talking about decanting wine and why we do it and all the other kind of particulars. I mean, is it really necessary? Is it a bougie thing, or do we really need to do it? Well, let's get into that conversation next week. Also, don't forget, go to pasowine.com. That's when you can see future shows. You can see some past shows. Also, check out the up-to-date, oh my gosh, why am I spacing? Where Wine Takes You. Sorry, our Where Wine Takes You podcast. You can download that anywhere where you get podcasts. They're a lot of fun. They're great to put on if you're driving somewhere and you've got a little time to kill, or if you're just sitting around and want to sip a glass of wine and listen to what's happening in Paso. It's a really great additional way into getting to know the personalities of our region. So until then, until next week, thanks everyone. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you, guys.
Thank
See you next time.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Right on. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.